All right. Here we go back again on the other side of the coin. Oh man, every weekend this comes around and heads or tails comes around as well with it. And I've got my man Mark, I've got my man Jonathan here. We'll talk about some really, really special players and the players that have been linked with us. We've got some, hopefully we get ourselves into some good discussion and also hopefully some intel as well as to what's going on. But before we get into all of that, first of all, Jonathan, welcome, my man. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm really good, man. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to another interesting discussion.
Brilliant, man. And Mark, how's things, my man?
I'm really good too. Thanks for having me again. And yeah, can't wait for this episode.
Nice. All right, let's get straight into it. The boys are very focused today, which is great. Jose Gimenez or Gimenez, how do you pronounce that? I think it's Gimenez.
Mm-hmm.
Atletico Madrid centre back, and he's gone around liking Chelsea tweets. Now, we've seen this from previous players doing this kind of notorious work on social media. We've seen Kai Havertz do that. We've seen other players do that as well, but it doesn't necessarily always transpire to a possible move. But nonetheless, I mean, we've been linked with this particular player previously, and now what I want to talk about, I'll go to Jonathan first. What I want to talk about Jose Gimenez is that looking at our squad now and looking at, Thiago Silva is setting stones at the moment, and he's got an option for next season, which I'm pretty sure he's going to stay. And now we're in talks that we want to give him another extra season on top of that. Zuma being our centre back that we're sort of molding to be the long term down the track. We've still got a whole heap of centre backs like Christensen, Rudiger, Tomori. Big talks that he's going to be going away for a loan option. But we've still got Rudiger and Christensen. And we've got Mark Gui at the background doing really, really well as well. How does this happen, Jonathan? Like, how does someone like Jose Gimenez get into this team, knowing all of these activities that are happening within Chelsea as well? Not to forget, Ampadu is on loan, who can also play centre back as well. So, what's your thoughts around this particular prospect?
Chelsea are targeting the best players in the world. He's a fantastic defender. I think one of the questions you've got to ask is, why would he leave Atletico Madrid at the moment? They're doing really well in La Liga. It could be the year that they actually win it. They've been so close so many times, and Barca and Madrid are messing around a little bit. They're through to the knockouts of the Champions League. So the fact that we're linked with him, the fact that it's possible for us to do it, shows again how far we've come under Lampard, and as a brand as Chelsea, the fact that we are going in for the best players. We're going for our number one target. And the reason he's one of our number one targets is because he's a fantastic centre-back. He's battling. He's not afraid to put his foot in and make a tackle. But in terms of how we get into this team, Silva, Zuma are the pair that are going to be hard to dismantle. But Silva does need a rest. He can only play one game a week, in my opinion. If you push two, that's when you're looking at possibly injuries with many other players because of COVID and the tight schedule. So I think we do need to rotate. And at the moment, is Lampard confident to bring in Rudiger and Christensen? Sometimes, but not fully. Tomori just seems to be frozen out. He looks like he's going to go on loan or be sold. So to have someone like Gimenez to come in January or in the summer that is going to come in and do exactly the same job as Silva and Zuma would be comforting for Lampard. We're building a competitive squad. And as I said last week, if you want to win championships and you want to challenge for the best titles, you've got to have 22 players really that can play and come in at any moment and pretty much seamlessly slot in, and Gimenez would certainly do that.
Fair enough. I just put out a question out there saying Gimenez, yes or no. Alfredo Herbertus has said absolutely yes, without no doubt, bro. Just want to go to Mark now. Look, personally, I haven't seen too much of Gimenez because I haven't really watched too many of Atletico Madrid games. But I've seen some clips here and there whenever I've tuned in to see some highlights of the Champions League games or some La Liga games. It looks decent. But from your perspective, is he what Jonathan has just said in terms of in that caliber of Thiago Silva and whatnot? Is he that much of a strong defender in your perspective as well?
He is, yeah, absolutely. I absolutely agree with Jonathan. And the thing with, in my opinion, with Jose Maria Gimenez is that he's good on the ball, which is something that any team looks for in a modern football. And his physicality he's a really strong guy. And in my opinion, this guy is tailored and made to measure for the Premier League, to be honest. Yeah.
Sorry, nice, man. So just an overall thought on Gimenez, Mark, is this, I know he's gone around liking our tweets. There was a tweet, I think, that said, I think the tweet said something around would like him in Chelsea, and he liked it, something along that line. How possible is this, Mark, to be honest?
Right. The tweet what actually said is like, day, I don't know, it was something like day 43 and I won't stop.
Something like that.
Maria Gimenez until Chelsea sign him, and like that. Which it was great. So yeah, I'm super excited with this one, as I can now confirm that Jose Maria Gimenez is on Chelsea's radar. Gimenez is a top target for the club, and he fits in what the club is searching for, which is young and experienced CB. Also, we had top sources like, everyone know them, Fabrizio Romano and Matt Law, who I trust a lot, and who have also mentioned that Gimenez as a potential Chelsea target. But for myself, I'm quite happy because now I can say that the rumors are true. As far as I've been told, Lampard and the Chelsea executives feel like they need to replace Thiago Silva next summer, even though Thiago Silva, I think he's a bit of 50-50. Like, he would like to renew his contract with Chelsea, as he's already said so. And as well, I read something yesterday on Twitter where he was actually thinking to moving back to Brazil for next year.
Wow.
So I don't know what will happen. And going back to Gimenez, I do think that it won't be an easy one, because one, Atletico Madrid are tough negotiators, and two, Gimenez has a 100 million release clause, something like that. Yeah. But the good news is that, judging by his recent social media activity, as you said, I would say he wants to join us. So what's definitely, we're going to hear a lot of him in the next months. So
wow, man, this is interesting news, man. Good intel, man. This is I'm gonna get this clip and retweet the living daylights out of this. This is wow. I actually thought it probably wasn't so possible, but after listening to you in regards to Silva, how he's got ambitions, perhaps going back to Brazil and whatnot, which, to be honest, makes sense, man. I mean, the guy's he's already 36, so he's going to be 37 next season. Let's face it, as much as we want him to stick around, it probably wouldn't, probably won't happen. So Chelsea's probably looking for a long-term replacement, and now it all sort of fits in how he's gone around liking stuff, and there's something out there. But as you said, the financial part of things could get a bit tricky. But let's see what happens. This is interesting. One to keep a close eye on. Let's move straight on to the next one, Paul Pogba. Now, I honestly don't know what happened. I woke up because for me, as you guys know, living in Sydney, I hear everything once I wake up in the morning, and everyone's just in a meltdown. Everyone's got tweets on Pogba. So I was like, what is going on, man? Why is Chelsea football Twitter going so crazy about Paul Pogba? And then obviously the whole thing about his agent saying da-di-da-di-da, whatever the case was. But here's my view, and I'll go to Jonathan again first. I don't know, man. As great as Pogba is, and in recent times, of course, he's won the World Cup. But for me, the biggest factor with Paul Pogba is his attitude. Like, I'm a bit worried about all the stuff that he does outside of the field, which can be massively unsettling a team. Now, yes, him as an individual, him as a footballer, fantastic. But I personally wouldn't have someone like Pogba in Chelsea. And it's not just looking at the footballing side of things. I'm looking at the whole package, and this is where sometimes people, tend to get a bit deluded about the whole thing. That how can you not have Pogba? He's so amazing. He's such a great footballer, but you're not looking at football. You're not looking at the other facets of football as well, which I just said it, the mentality side of things. I personally don't think we would take him, and I personally don't think that. With the midfield that we have right now, all the midfielders that we have right now, I wouldn't start him in front of any one of them, to be honest. Mason Mount, I don't think I would start Pogba in front of Mason Mount. I know a lot of people are going to laugh about it, but I wouldn't start him. I'd rather have Mason Mount, who's got a great attitude, who's going to listen to what Frank's got, want from him, and so on and so forth. What's your thoughts about Paul Pogba, man? I mean, is he someone that you would like to, like Chelsea to get right now?
A lot of baggage, like you said. The agent coming out, that's clearly going to decrease his price. That's a very clever move from him because he knows that by doing that, Man United are forced a little bit. As you say, I think there is a quality player down inside there, and it doesn't come out very often. He seems to need the perfect conditions for everything to be in place for him to play well. He needs to be in the right position, which obviously we need versatility in this Chelsea side, the way we play. Yeah, does he get in front of Mount? No. Right now, again, I don't think he does because of how good Mount is. He's not obviously going to play in the DM role like Kante is. Havertz at the moment looks to be one of the eights for the future. Is he going to get in front of him? Why would we spend the money on Havertz? So for the money he's going to cost, albeit it's going to be discounted because of what the agent said, I just think, will it unsettle? Does his attitude, or will it cause issues? I think it probably would. As I said, I think he's a great player, but is his sole focus football? Not always. And Mourinho made a very interesting comment a couple of years ago in the World Cup where he said that he's a perfect tournament player because he's only got football to focus on. He hasn't got any other outside distractions. And because of his personality and his media presence, everyone tries to leech off of him and kind of think and kind of suck him into other parts of life that really, what does it matter? You're only a footballer for 15, 20 years. Concentrate on that, get your money and get out and do whatever you want after that. And I just think, with so many things, he needs consistent games because he showed at Man United when he's played consistently, he's good. But he just needs so many things to be right for everything to kind of click and for him to be a great player. But, I don't doubt that he is a fantastic player. And if we did sign him, I'd certainly back him. But is it the sort of way we want to go down under Lampard? Probably not.
No, good point. Jay, as you all know, one of our really, really close buddies, he tweeted out recently about the Paul Pogba thing when that news was coming around. And I sort of said in that tweet that I don't know if I would want someone like Paul Pogba in our team at the moment. And he was sort of saying that, because I said, I don't think, as Jonathan has just mentioned, that I don't think he always brings the best out of him. Like he's always on and off, needs everything around him to be perfect. So, and then Jay was sort of saying that he's a World Cup winner, da-di-da-di-da. So, and all factual stuff. I said to him as well that World Cup it's a small tournament. It's based on maybe a month's worth of tournament. You know what I mean? And club football is your bread and butter. Like that's your day-to-day, every day for good 7-8 months of every year. And it's totally different, as what Jonathan said, that club football, he's probably the perfect player for a tournament football. Going to you, Mark, what's your thoughts about Pogba? Is he someone that you'd want in Chelsea Football Club, or is someone that you want to stay away?
To be honest, I think you guys were both spot on with this one. I do completely agree with what you said. To be honest, I love the player. I don't love the guy. So I would just stay away from that. And I've actually been told something as well about Pogba. I'm just going to be really short on this. But I was told on Wednesday night, neither Frank Lampard or the club are interested in this signing. So I would say it's 100% no. So we can kill it off.
Nice.
Fans. And this is just our personal opinion, but I think that if Zinedine Zidane keeps his job at Madrid, we will see Pogba next summer in Madrid. That's my opinion. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, and you know what? That's probably where his destination needs to be now. He's kind of tried the Premier League. Doesn't need to go to another Premier League club to showcase his stuff. Real Madrid is probably the right club for him, and hopefully someone like Zinedine Zidane gets the best out of him, and he puts that respect, being a French sort of compatriot as well. So yeah, guys, you've heard it straight up from Mark. This one is dead. No one wants him. Frank doesn't want him. Let's kill it off before the fan base goes nuts about him. Now, let's move swiftly on to Declan Rice, guys. He is back in the conversation again. He's going to take over this January window all over again, just like he did for the last window. I'm pretty sure, as you remember, Mark, Jonathan and I and Jay, we all used to talk about it. And Jonathan, obviously, back then had his own YouTube channel, and all of us would be talking about transfers. And the one transfer we would always talk about is Declan Rice. Every show, every single day we did these videos, and Declan Rice was the topic. And he's back again. I'll go to Mark this time just to get your thoughts on certain things before I'll come back to you again for, in regards to some intel. Mark, he's been sensational this season so far. The games he's played. Yeah. I even tweeted out this morning, I really want to see how Declan Rice does up against Leeds, where Leeds run and run and run. I really want to see. It's a shame I didn't get to see the second half. Apparently, second half, he really stepped it up again. And obviously, West Ham won. What's your thoughts around Declan Rice and how much Frank wants him? And also consider the fact that Kante is still our lone DM. And we still have players like Ampadu, who could possibly come in and fit in. And now Billy Gilmore, him coming back from injury. I guess you could say he could play the attacking 8 role, but he does look very decent in the lone DM. So how do you assess this whole situation about Declan Rice?
So first of all, he's one of us. I mean, I do want him at Chelsea, to be honest.
Yeah.
I've done a bit of controversial tweets about Declan Rice because I think the Chelsea fans are divided, 50-50. There's some that want him, the others that don't want him for that price. And if I'm honest, I wouldn't like to overpay for him. The thing is that West Ham, they're tough negotiators as well. They won't let him go for cheap. And so, I think his best position is 6th role, to be honest, long DM, deep. I'm not a fan of signing him for the CB role, if I'm honest. But if you play him in his best position, I think he can be great for us. Having Kante over there, I think, in the attack, it's going to be a great problem for Frank in order to select who's going to play. So the summary for me is that I do want him at Chelsea. I just don't want to pay 85 million for this guy. But I do like him. I love him, and I think he can be the missing piece of the puzzle, to be honest, like we all say.
Fair enough. Jonathan, West Ham are probably in some of the form of their life at the moment. I know last week they lost to Man United, harshly so, but Leeds, they took care of them. And this season they've been very good overall. Declan Rice is their captain. You know very well, Jonathan, they're not going to be letting this player go easily. It's going to be a hefty amount of money. As I said, he's the captain. They're doing very well. And losing a player like Declan Rice could mean very detrimental for someone like West Ham. You could just see they lose Declan Rice and they're going to go probably south from there on in. But having said all of that, Jonathan, do you think this is a player, and consider all the other players that we have, like Billy Gilmore, Kante, Ampadu, is this a player that guaranteed is going to come to Chelsea?
You should ask him, Miz, because you got him on the DMs previously, didn't you?
Now, you know what? Let me tell you a funny story before you get into it, Jonathan. I DM'd him after that couple of times saying, "Hey man, that was a really good game for England. You played well done, da-di-da-di-da." And the guy never replied back. So you know what? Stuff him, man.
Yeah, I think he's shown, after England interviews, after, when he's standing next to Mount, he clearly loves playing with him, and he said several times, they're best friends. The prospect of playing for Chelsea next to your best friend, challenging for titles, he's not going to do that at West Ham. And as much as West Ham's given him the platform to be as good as he is he going to stay there for the rest of his career? No. And if Chelsea come in for him and Lampard wants him, I would move. Mark is very right in the sense that West Ham will negotiate tough because they know that he's an asset and that they can get as much as they can for him. But I just think, and I get the side of when fans and people don't want to pay money. I completely understand because you can use that money elsewhere. If it costs whatever it costs, I just think it's not our money. And if Roman and Marina and stuff have attributed to Rice and they think that it's worthwhile, then I trust in that. I said I get the fact that we don't want to overspend because we want to spend in other areas, but we've shown this summer, a lot of us were saying, "Oh, don't overspend on Havertz because we're going to, we won't be able to buy this player," and then we went and signed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I think it's you've got to obviously balance it. Chelsea don't want to overpay. We don't want to spend 80 million ideally on Rice. I think 50, 60 million is more than enough to pay for him, because if he can try and force an exit a little bit in the nicest way possible, I think West Ham will not want to keep an unsettled player. So yeah, I think it's a tough one because I think a lot of fans like him, but it is the price tag that puts a lot off. Because last summer when we were talking about him, a lot of people weren't convinced about him, but now I think a lot more are, and a lot of people in social media are kind of repping for him. So I think that his name is out there. We know what he can do. He can play in a few roles. I think DM would be perfect for him. And in terms of competition, we've got Kante, we've got Ampadu, we've got Gilmour, we've got other players. I think it'll be fantastic to bring Ampadu back and have Gilmour. But competition, and I've said it before, the best it's almost survival of the fittest. The best players will overcome. John Terry was one of the best youth we've ever had in terms of players, and he was one of the first ones that broke through. We've seen many others follow him. If you're good enough, you're going to play for this Chelsea side under Lampard. He's shown that. People wrote off Mount, people wrote off Abraham, saying, "Oh, we've got all these new signings, they're not going to play." And, myself, along with many other people on Twitter, are talking about how Mason Mount is here to stay. I think Rice will be one of those, and I think Ampadu and Gilmour will be one of those that would stick around. So survival of the fittest, I think he would add another, sprinkle of quality to this squad, and that's exactly what we need to do when we're making new signings.
No, 100%. I definitely believe that he'll bring quality. Just before I go back to Mark in regards to getting some inside details, Jonathan, there was a lot of talk about him perhaps being a CB for us, and a lot of people were trying to sell that project that, he's actually a CB. We've now seen a couple of seasons of him in DM. Again, this season, he's been very prolific in DM. Do we actually see him as a CB, Jonathan?
It's interesting. I don't know what Lampard said, because we all thought that Amp's probably going to be a DM, and then he came out and said, "I see him as a centre-back," and then Wilder sort of played him as a 3. So it's interesting because we can have all these ideas as fans. We thought maybe we were going to play a pivot with Kante if we'd signed Rice as well. Now we're thinking if we sign Rice, he's going to be the sole DM because we're playing 4-3-3. So we can talk about it. I'd be very interested to see what Lampard does, because, would he play centre-back? I think it would mean, Kante and Ampadu coming back. But if we sign someone at centre-back, I don't think he'd play there. If we don't sign someone, he could. So I think he could be someone that switches. But I think just because of what West Ham have done and the potential signings we're going to make at DM, and obviously Kante's not going to be around forever, I think he would probably go to DM. But again, it all depends on what Lampard thinks.
Fair enough. Mark, your final thoughts on Declan Rice?
So, basically Rice is heavily linked to us, as we all know. And I can say it is confirmed #1 target for Frank Lampard.
Wow, there you go, guys. There you go.
I wouldn't say it's a matter of if he joins anymore, but more of when will he join. Declan wants the move. Chelsea want the move, and there's nothing West Ham can do about it. It is what it is. And I would say he would be announced quite early in next summer in the transfer market.
It won't be a January thing, would it?
No, West Ham won't let us get him in January, to be honest.
And West Ham's doing well, so it doesn't make sense for West Ham to do that. And type of player Declan is, it's going to be a blockbuster signing, right? It's going to be a big signing. So generally, these are the ones that should happen during summer as opposed to January. So guys, as you've heard, it's not really an if or when or what. No, it's really this is going to happen. Just a matter of time, to be honest. Now, let's move swiftly along. So that was a lot of stuff about players that are coming in. Now we want to talk about players. We've got a lot of players that needs to leave. First of all, I'll go to Mark this time. Kepa. This guy, man, I honestly feel sorry. Really, I feel sorry for this guy because his career just went from winning the Europa League to like so much. Like it's plummeted so badly, it's not even funny. Is this guy, I mean, is he going to be a number 2 for Chelsea or it's lights out, possibly January, any sort of loan or sell? Like, what's your thoughts? Like, can Kepa resurrect his career in Chelsea?
Well, the thing is that I feel bad for Kepa, to be honest. Personally, I had a lot of illusion when we signed him a couple of seasons ago, and I had high hopes for him, to be honest. I think his time as a Chelsea player is counted, and I just hope he can count on a few minutes where he can shine and thus be able to sell him for the highest amount possible, even if we don't gain any profit or out of his sell. But as for I know, and I think Kepa will not survive next summer, to be honest.
Before I go to Jonathan, get his input, any thoughts on him possibly getting a loan in January or not really?
The thing is that I actually don't know what the price tag for Kepa is or what the price is that Chelsea is willing to sell him for, because we paid a huge amount of money for him. And clubs aren't stupid. They know exactly in what point he is and what Chelsea feel about him. So I can't see anyone coming in and offering a huge amount of money for Kepa. So I just don't know what the price tag is for Chelsea in order to sell him. So I think that if we can't sell him, yes, he will be forced to be loaned, I think. Yeah.
Jonathan, I've said it many times in some other videos in the past where, unfortunately, this is probably a monumental mess that we've done some bad deals in recently. Bakayoko, at least we've been able to loan him out, and we're recouping some money through there. We're still going to make a loss, but at least we've been able to recoup something. Danny Drinkwater is probably another one that didn't go well, but at least he's not. I don't think he's as monumental mess as Kepa, purely in the sense that his price tag and whatnot. And as Mark was mentioning, that now the rest of the world knows what Chelsea, not just the fan base, what Chelsea hierarchies within think about Kepa as well, in terms of now he's not getting much game time. Mendy's completely taken over the number 1 position. And even games like Krasnodar doesn't really help out Kepa because he's barely had anything to do. And the one time there was something that could have happened, it's not his fault, we conceded, but it doesn't put a good shine on him because every time Mendy tends to play, we tend to get clean sheets. What do you think is possibly going to transpire here? I mean, is there any hope for Kepa, or there's nothing? There's absolutely no hope, and he's got to go.
100% no hope, in my opinion. It's interesting because we played Mendy, Christensen, and Rudiger away to Sevilla. Yes, they were weakened, and we were all over them. We then play Kepa, Rudiger, and Andreas Christensen against Krasnodar. And yes, they pretty much secured the Europa League. They were there for a bit of fun. They were attacking us. But you could see, in terms of Christensen and Rudiger, they looked like a different animal with Mendy behind them. With Kepa, he just didn't have that confidence that he was going to come and claim things and take the pressure off when he got the ball. They were making sure they put it on the exact right side because I just don't feel like they had the confidence, and that clearly showed because defensively we weren't as good against Krasnodar, and you'd have thought we would have been better than away to Sevilla. So for me, Kepa has just lost all confidence, and it's sad to see a player like that, because if we go all the way back to why this happened, Courtois kind of left us high and dry. He wanted to leave very quickly. We thought it was going to happen. Then he kind of just up and left to Real Madrid. He didn't come to training or whatever. Chelsea were then forced into getting a new keeper. Couldn't find one. We had to end up paying a release clause for Kepa, which a lot of people seem to forget. It wasn't, we're not spending 70 million on a goalkeeper. Would have probably paid 30, 40 if it hadn't been for his release clause. We end up spending that money. He comes in. He does have a decent first season, but the second season he really gets found out, because the type of keeper we need at Chelsea, or a Premier League keeper needs to be, he just isn't that kind of. He's not going to come and claim crosses, take pressure off the defence. In terms of distribution, it's been questionable at times. When he's needed to concentrate and make saves, he's kind of lacked at that time. He does, in my opinion, go the wrong hand. I may not be a goalkeeping coach, but it does frustrate me when he goes across the body. Again, I've been told by goalkeeping coaches on Twitter that I'm wrong, and you do go with the wrong hand. But for me, you go with the hand that's going to give you the most height. And it's, again, concentration. Mendy seems to keep that concentration throughout 90 minutes. He doesn't seem to lack it. When he needs to be called upon, to come out and claim crosses. I was watching Pickford in the Everton game last week, because previously we've been linked with him, and just looking at him as an England goalkeeper, he does sometimes hesitate to come out and collect the ball. Mendy, he sees the ball and he will come and get it. And as I've said many times,
he'll clean everyone up.
Even if he doesn't come and get it, he's going to go through a centre back, he's going to go through a striker, and they're not going to go for the ball because they think that Mendy's going to get it. So whether he gets it or not, his pure willingness to go and get it just distracts everyone else. That's why we're so good at defending corners, and obviously having Zuma as well helps. But he's the kind of keeper that you need in the Premier League, commanding, instills confidence in his back line. Kepa just hasn't got that, and he will never have that. De Gea had 2-3 seasons where he struggled at Man United, and he's managed to just about get there. He's, in my opinion, on thin rope at the moment with Henderson coming in, but he's just never, unfortunately, going to be the keeper we need. Chelsea need to, I think, loan him or sell him, maybe a loan with a view to selling, put a clause in. If we get 25, 30 million, he's got to take a hit. You can't always make profit on these transfers, and you've just got to admit that we just got this one wrong. There's no harm in that. We've made a lot right this summer. We got Mendy for 22 million. For a keeper like that, you'd expect to pay a lot more in terms of the quality. So, for me, I do feel bad for Kepa, because I always want to back players that play, but he's just not what we need, unfortunately.
No, absolutely, man. Mendy's probably slowly becoming that Oblak kind of level where, he's worth a lot of money now, Mendy. And Manuel Neuer, the Bayern Munich keeper, recently came out and said, there's a lot of world-class keepers out there, and Mendy being one of them. So I believe him as well. I definitely think Mendy's world-class. We made a right decision there. We just got to have to cop it on the chin in regards to Kepa. As we've all said, it's a bit unfortunate, but it is what it is. And we need to somehow get this sorted ASAP, not just for his sake, but I think for our football club as well. Just to get this, whether he gets loaned out or we sell him or whatever the case, just to get this done ASAP. Let's move swiftly along. Looks like the next one we want to talk about is Jorginho. Guys, I'll go to Jonathan this time first up. For me, this season started and Frank was playing Jorginho for a little bit. And then obviously he reverted back to playing the 4-3-3 and we've stuck to the 4-3-3. And once again, we've seen the same sort of situation that happened after the lockdown last season where Jorginho barely played. Now, Jorginho is once again barely playing, but he's sort of like whenever Kante needs a bit of break, Jorginho comes in. However, now Billy Gilmore's back as well. So we've got Billy Gilmore, Kovacic, Kai Havertz, Mason Mount, a lot of options in midfield. And I don't know how much longer someone like Jorginho is going to get any sort of game time. Do you feel either this could be the last season or do you think by January something could happen that Jorginho could find? Because he has admitted, Jonathan, that Arsenal was actually after him. He's actually come out and said that Arsenal did offer him. He just didn't go there. Do you think he could get offers again in January?
Possibly. I mean, I don't think a loan deal, we either keep him or we sell him. That's just my opinion. He's not the sort of player you need to loan. Are we going to get the price that we want for him? That's probably why he didn't leave. And I think he moved, talked about the Arsenal one, hasn't worked out. I mean, Sarri leaving Juventus probably cut off that avenue as well. So
yeah.
Chelsea, again, we're not going to recoup the 55 million we paid for him or 60 million whatever we paid for him just because of how he is and how much he's played for us. He's a system player. There's only certain managers that will want him, but he is very useful. I'm not doubting his quality in the right system and with the right players around him. He can function. He's a very good player, but is he the style that Lampard wants going forward? Probably not. I think Lampard plays him out of necessity and because he wants to. So for me, it's a tough one because he's a good squad player to have and bring in, but he is someone that Chelsea will probably end up cashing in on probably next summer. You're right. And it wouldn't be the end of the world because we have got a plethora of talent in midfield.
No, absolutely, man. Mark, your thoughts on Jonathan? I mean, are we going to see more of him this season, or his time's limited? And also, do you sort of think that January could be the time he goes, or is it more summer?
Well, again, I completely agree with what Jonathan has said. And yeah, I think it's more of a summer move, to be honest, more than anything, because I can't see who will pay right now for Jorginho, especially when he is playing out of necessity, like Jonathan has said. Personally, I love the guy. I think he has a great attitude. He loves the club, and that's someone that we want to have around, especially with the young guys in the squad. But he just doesn't fit the style of play that Lampard is having at Chelsea right now, like Jonathan said. So hopefully, my hopes is that Sarri will find a job next summer and we'll want to join up again with Georgie. So let's see what happens, to be honest.
Nah, interesting, man. It looks like, by the way, guys, sorry about the prayers in the background. So don't get alerted by that. It's just the prayers sounding. Yeah, Jorginho, I think, looks like he is going to be following Sarri wherever he goes. I feel like it's a shame, but that's the only style I can see him ever fit, because Sarri plays everything through Jorginho. Like every play goes through him. Every passing sequence from the back has him connected. So I can't see any other manager that relies on one player to do that. You look at Frank. When he first came in, Jorginho was playing, and initially he was playing the way sort of Sarri was playing, where Jorginho was going through, and quickly he sort of realized that that's not him. That's not the way Frank wants to play, and that's not the way he wants Chelsea to play. He wants Chelsea to be more direct, less passes, more create chances, more dynamic, and then he's changed things around. So I think Jorginho is as great as he's been a great leader for us. He's the vice captain. I think one thing that I do want to say about Jorginho, guys, and I'm pretty sure you guys will agree with this, is that he's had a fantastic attitude. His time that he's been in Chelsea, whether it be off the field or on the field, whenever he's played, he's never ever. I've never read anything controversial about Jorginho, or he's done something, or he's gone out and said something negative about Frank Lampard. Never. And Frank as well, similarly, has always backed Jorginho as well, which, testament to Jorginho as a player. And I think overall, all the other players tend to sort of like that attitude. Whether he stays in the club, that's a different story. I'm pretty sure he's not going to stay, but at least he hasn't been a bad apple, to be honest, in the group, which is fantastic. So yeah, overall, guys, that's pretty much what we had for this show. Interesting news we've got in regards to Declan Rice, Paul Pogba, and Gimenez as well. Before we go, some final thoughts from. I'll start with Jonathan. Now we've got the Everton game coming up, Jonathan. How's your feeling towards that game?
I'm feeling confident. They've got injuries. James being out is good. They haven't got a left and a right back. I think Pickford is someone that Chelsea can get at. Shame Ditch isn't playing for the long shots. But yeah, if we play our formation, which we know we probably will, we play our style of football, we control the game early on, get the ball, control the midfield, try and get an early goal, and it should be a formality. But we've got to make sure, as I say, that we get that early goal, because I think Everton will lose all confidence if we do that. So yeah, I'm pretty confident that we will go and get the win tonight.
Yeah, Everton's in some shocking form at the moment. They almost lost to Fulham, then they drew against Burnley, and now they're up against us. Mark, some final thoughts, man? You're looking forward to the Everton game?
Looking forward, very confident about this one. About this one too. It's never easy to play at Goodison Park, but this time I think we're gonna get our revenge for what happened last season. So
man, we better. What happened last season? Oh man, that made me sick. That made me sick, that game, because we made some horrendous mistakes at the back, but hopefully we do get that revenge, and we're on the up and they're on the decline at the moment, looks like. So hopefully, I'm just hoping that this isn't one of those games where Everton just turns up and
I'm worried as well. Yeah,
because that's what happened to us last time. Remember, they sacked their manager and the interim manager came in and they blew us apart.
Again, that was another one of those days where Mendy plays. We probably don't have that. Again, I'm not going to completely blame Kepa, but it wasn't his best performance, and we had a few of those days yesterday, last season. But yeah, I think it's a game. It's gonna be a tough one, as Mark said. Goodison Park's not our best ground. I think we've won once in 5 years, but it's somewhere where we need to get the 3 points if we're serious about challenging for the title this year.
100%. There's some blockbuster matches this weekend as well in terms of Manchester City versus Man United. This is a game. You don't know what's going to happen there. Well, someone could lose some points. If we were to pick up 3 points, it's going to mean so much for the title challenge. So hopefully we've got that in our mind, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. As I said, some fantastic information, some fantastic discussion. Thank you to each and every single one of you guys that has been tuning out. Thank you for joining and commenting. And obviously the clips of this particular video will be tweeted out throughout over the next 24 hours. So guys, thank you heaps, Jonathan, and thank you heaps, Mark. Until next time, until next week. See ya.
Yeah.